how are you? In today's video, we are going to look a little bit into the feeling sorry for other people and if that is really helpful to say something. I'm sorry. I'm sorry that you have gone through this. I'm sorry that you went through this experience. And I want to share with you a little bit of insight on what this has actually created with me or within me. And there are many people who still do this until today. So I still hear this sentence and I'm just like, really, why? Why are you saying this? So I felt like I'm going to do a video. My name is Patricia. I'm a life coach and I help people to raise their awareness towards their own thoughts, beliefs, and emotions because we are in the driver's seat and it's important to understand our manual, okay? And our manual is written by ourselves, for ourselves. And unfortunately, sometimes we forget that we are the author of the whole story, okay? So if you want to learn more, then hit that subscribe button. Also, make sure to give it a thumbs up. And with this, we already start into today's video. So grab your coffee, your tea, your juice. Today, I want to talk a little bit about sharing some hardships and sharing this with your friends maybe, or with maybe a complete stranger, or you get asked, I don't know, from someone you don't know really well, and you share a story that may be a little bit more hard or for people hard to hear. I learned over the time that I don't have any issues anymore to share my story, to share what has happened, because I don't identify myself anymore with that past. I'm not my past and I'm not who I have been back there. And on the other hand, I do accept and fully see that person I once was and how I have been and how I have reacted and being very reactive to certain things that triggered me afterwards, years after this, hardships and so on. But this is the whole deal. We all experience hardships. So we are not really trained, actually. I would say we are miserable trained in how to really see what has happened. We create these kind of huge stories around it on how it must have been for that person or for yourself, maybe if you're in this still. And we start to create these beliefs about with whom we want to interact further on. And we create these emotions and thoughts, which is quite intense. So, but now I want to go first into what happens if we are communicating our hardship, and for us it might not be that hard anymore, or it still is. However, you share that story, and obviously, please, actually, when you share stories like this, when you know this has a lot of impact to others, okay? You're not here to just make like, and like, pull all your stuff towards them, okay? It's important that we ask people, hey, listen, this is quite a tough one, so I just want to make sure that you have the capacity to really listen to it and to really be open for it, because I can share it another time, like if you don't feel that well, or if you cannot take it really, then that's totally fine. So just let me know. Sometimes warnings like this are very helpful, and I really got a few feedbacks from my own private lives on this one, where they were really happy that I actually asked them and that they were acknowledged for, as the listener, to really say, hey, I can't right now. or I don't have the capacity. So you are making this whole thing not only about you to share, but to be like, I'm open, then you are ready, let me know. And so, sharing is really good, but share it when people are agreeing to hear what you have to say, especially if it's something not so easy to listen to, okay? And what I've experienced very, very often, actually, afterwards, was something like, I'm so sorry that you went through this, or you must have gone through such a difficult time, and all of that. And it was really about feeling sorry for me, like this feeling sorry, feeling bad for the other person. And the vibe that came along was something like, obviously it is so difficult for you, or it has been so difficult for you, you will most probably not be able to be happy ever, or you will not be happy to, I don't know, be in a relationship, or experience something that is nice, or it was kind of like, it gave me the vibe of it's okay if you fail. Like, kind of, we don't even expect you. That's the thing. We don't even expect you to really show up. You know what I mean? Kind of like you lost already. Goodbye, kind of like, what? See, we are not defined by our past. We are not defined by what has happened to us. We are not our past, and we are not our thoughts, and we are not our emotions, yet we are one with all of it, with all the experiences we have, with all the people, with nature. We are one, right? And we have to get this into balance. We have to accept it all. In order to let go and in order to make a new experience, we have to understand how our system works. And so hardships are sometimes here to push us through to something. So I would never say something like, I want to change what has happened. Maybe in my angry face I would have said something like this. But when I start to really think about how much further those hardships have brought me, and where I stand today, I probably wouldn't see if I have been through, or if I haven't been through those kind of hardships. And so whenever you are listening to someone who is sharing a story like this, instead of making the general, I'm so sorry. Okay, maybe don't laugh, but it's kind of hard for me right now. But if you're doing this, right, maybe to just sit there and to don't even say really that much, because it's not really about words. It's about holding space, and holding space is very often in stillness, actually, because you are giving the container in a safe space so that person could have open up. That's all. You don't need to make any kind of words to it. You see, sometimes less is way more, way, way more. Just sometimes I have to say it, right? Just shut up. Shut up. Like, it's not needed. Your sorry is not required. You don't need to feel sorry, even if there is so many difficulties. And I'm sorry doesn't, like, this whole idea of, yeah, but I want to share that I understand. Well, you don't understand. You see, that's the whole point. You don't get it. You're not in their shoes. You have no idea. You don't know. You don't know how it really feels. And even if your experience from the past has been similar, you have not been in the same shoes. You don't have the same body. You don't experience and feel the same. You don't have the same thoughts. You don't live in the same environment. You have no idea. You don't understand. We try to say something like we understand to connect. But, how do you want to say something like this if you can't? You can't. There is nothing like you understand. You have no clue. You don't know. You can say something like, I believe this is hard for you. I don't even know what to say now because I don't know how that feels like. I don't know how you have managed this situation. I don't know how you went through this. This must have been really, really hard. But don't say something like, I understand. You have no clue. Don't say something like, I'm sorry for you. You see, there is one of the best stories is actually when my teacher, he was a very old school teacher, and I was really afraid of him. I mean, he was quite a tough cookie. He was very tough, and he had his rules, and I was kind of free bird. And I needed that though. He was someone who gave me a little more structure in my life, because I grew up kind of like you can do whatever you want as long as you are not ending up in the police and as long as you don't do crazy whatsoever. We just don't really want to be bothered with you. So you can say now this is another thing where that's hard because no one really cared if I'm home, if I'm gone somewhere. I mean, I could tell that I'm, I don't know, going out and no one would really care if I'm at home or not, And so it had its good and its bad sides to it because you felt like no one really cares. On the other hand, I learned really early on to stay independent, to make sure that I'm safe, that I'm protected. Is this the goal as a child to know how to be independent? No, not at all. You see, yet in the life I'm living right now, in this adult life, it helps me really much. So don't feel sorry for that. Don't feel sorry for how I used to feel, even if I felt miserable, because right now it helps me actually extremely. You see, maybe back then it wasn't that much fun. I agree. But right now it helps me a lot. And so you never really know for what you've learned or gone through situations that may help you in the coming future. You don't know. And so, there are certain aspects that make you stronger. And I think that sometimes we need to get stronger. And if everything would be super, super nice, then we would probably not get there. Well, I would certainly not. So this whole conversation here is really about making sure that when someone is sharing a tough story. I wanted to share something else about this teacher, right? Now I moved totally into another direction. So this teacher, he was old school, and he said, and it was really hard to hear. Oh, it was so hard. I mean, it was like a punch in the face, He said something like, don't share your story in the class. We don't want to hear it. And I felt so, like, that was so mean. Like, it was so mean. And it wasn't really that I went through the class and shared what I have gone through, because I was ashamed and I felt I didn't really feel good about myself. I was very, very much ashamed of what has happened in my family, and I couldn't quite like talk really about it. And I was glad that he was just like, yeah, we are not going to share anything about it. It didn't really help my progress to heal, although I wasn't ready to heal anyway. So what's the point, right? What I want to say is that he just moved on with life. He moved on, and so the days were as nothing happened. And you can say now that that's so hard when the days are just moving on. But you know, when you are going through a hardship, you are just happy when you are in situations where you kind of feel like, okay, everything is okay. It's normal. This is how I used to come here. At least this has not changed. And so you kind of find yourself in the comfort through people who may look very harsh, but I think he did me a really good favor. And he was really one of those ones who were quite. He was really harsh. He was really harsh, but he was a good one. He saw my pain, and he knew, but he could manage to. He was one of the first ones who actually showed me that he's not willing to talk about it because he doesn't have the capacity to do so. Obviously, he said it in different words, and this was 17 years ago or so. So, you know, back then you didn't really talk about that, you know, and still until this day, it's hard for people to really talk about how you feel and all of that. It's not easy for people. So you gotta understand when to open up first. And if you're the listener, be okay to just be quiet and just to be the container of this conversation and hold space. And you can even say something like, look, I don't really know what to say right now. And sometimes, you know, just giving that person a hug, just acknowledging him or her for sharing, that's okay. And that's way better than saying sorry. It's way better than saying sorry, your future is messed up and you will never be able to make it, kind of thing. That's way better. Saying sorry for someone or feeling sorry for someone is not helpful. That's kind of like putting you in a place of like hopelessness. Hopelessness? No hope? Kind of like you will not be able to grow and to move further and to do anything that is good for you, because life is already over. Like the way how you experienced life until now is kind of like, next time maybe it will work, but this time, no chance. All right, so we are on the end of this video. Let me know your thoughts. I'm quite curious to hear if you have gone through difficulties, and share a few sentences or a few ways that help you or would have helped you, that you would have liked to hear. And maybe you also share why. Like, why would that be helpful for you to hear? And remember, if it is something like, I just want to be understood, remember that there is not really anyone who can understand you fully. And you don't need validation for your pain. You don't need anyone to tell you that your pain has value. That's not what you need. Okay? You need someone who holds the container for you so that you can open up, share, and be vulnerable and feel safe. And open up and just share your story, because that alone is healing. That alone is more than enough to do. All right, I say bye for now and we speak very soon.